In a world of fractured stories, timelines buried, and truths erased, one project dares to ask the question, what if everything you thought you knew about history was wrong? This is GTR, Genesis, Timeline and Roots. A 5,025-year simulated walkthrough tracing a melanated Adam back to 4000 BC. Over the last decade, new revelations confirm a black origin for humanity, from European vaults to tribal memory, Babylon to Britain. This is not just history, this is a challenge, a simulation, a movement. Meet the man behind GTR, Dr. Wilton MacDonald II, Caymanian, British, Jamaican, haplogroup E and stateless for 26 years. Now a global explorer, 119 countries and counting. A hedge fund lawyer, a UK chartered accountant, a seeker of the lost archives of our people. But the question remains, if all black people came out of Africa, does that make us only African? Or are we also European, Scottish, Native American, Jacobite Hebrew, Asian? GTR exists to answer that question. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world, a splinter in your mind. That splinter has brought you here, to GTR. Whites can't trace their roots before the 1800s. Where's ours? Where are the tribes? The languages, the kings, the queens, the true Hebrews? Where did the giants go? Where are the Neanderthals? Angels, aliens? Why do we speak in so many tongues? Was Babel just a myth? A memory? History has holes. Hollywood has lied. The system was never made for us to remember. Only 5 to 8% of people today are white. And what about the 1800 stories and postcards of the cabbage babies? But nearly all history books center their story. That doesn't add up. Atlantis, lost cities, vanished civilizations, or were they erased? Try GTR. Take the red pill and awaken to the truth of your ancestors. Or take the blue pill and keep dreaming a fantasy. GTR. A simulated walkthrough of Black Hebrew history and eschatology. This is the beginning of remembering.
Okay, so welcome to the inaugural episode of GTR, Genesis, Timeline and Roots. I'm Dr. Wilton MacDonald, program creator, and joined by Jeffrey Taylor and Senzo Zindela. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Good to have you. So, by way of background, for those who don't know, this program, GTR, is seeking to feature aspects of history, genealogy along a time frame. So Genesis, the timeline, refers to a timeline going back from modern all the way to the beginning. And roots, meaning genealogy, and we're going to cover various topics dealing with family tree tracing in the Caribbean and around the world. So just wanted, by way of introduction, I'm based in Poland, by the way, hedge funds lawyer, and one of the program creator for GTR. Gentlemen, I'd like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell me where you are currently. I'm based in Poland at the moment, and this is being streamed to an audience in Cayman.
Okay, it's afternoon here. Good afternoon. I know maybe good morning to Jeffrey from LA. I am Senzo Zindela from South Africa. I am the film producer, and also I am someone who works with development in Africa mostly, where we look for finances for projects that are meant to develop Africa. So today I'm here on behalf of the movie titled Alpha Omega that we are producing with my partner Jeffrey Taylor. We'll talk more later about the movie. Thank you.
And Jeffrey, can you, by way of introduction, can you introduce yourself, please?
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask me, so I don't have any notes. I've got to remember who I am. But I'm based, I divide my time between Los Angeles, which is in California in the United States of America, and London, which is in England. Every film that I'm developing, none of them are to be shot in the United States or in England. And the first one, which is a film about young Jesus, is to be shot in South Africa and I was lucky enough last year to do what we call a recce. So I went to South Africa and I saw Durban in particular, which is a great place to make the film. And I went to Tunisia, which is a fantastic place to make the film. I could show you locations that are actually genuinely 2,000 years old. But that's what I do. I try and get films made, which is not easy, but I do a lot of traveling. Okay?
Okay. And again, for clarity's sake, and this is going to be edited, program going to edit it, I wanted to make a sort of stronger intro, if you'd like. So welcome, one and all, to GTR Episode 1. This is one of 5 episodes where we're looking at Genesis timeline and roots. Genesis timeline looking at the history of mankind going all the way back to Adam in BC 4000. And we're looking at a timeline of roughly 5,025 years. Contrary to lots of timelines, looking at a Christian timeline of 6,000 years, which is deemed conventional, but it takes into account the Dark Ages. We omit, though, that in our timeline and focus only on those pivotal moments in history, minus the Dark Ages, which is a big point to make on GTR. The other aspect would be roots and genealogy and helping families connect with their loved ones and ancestors in the Caribbean and around the world. So welcome one and all, and I will ask each of the guests today, Mr. Senzo Zindela and Mr. Jeffrey Taylor, to introduce themselves. Thank you and welcome to GTR. And it will be cut and spliced and edited, so I just wanted to have a stronger. And again, this is the first time I'm doing this, gentlemen. So again, I will get better at it, like a learning curve. And so I wanted to just talk about the program and what it is that your topic I see is Alpha and the Omega.
Well, that's the change. The film is about a young Jesus Christ. And what is extraordinary, it has never, ever been done before. There have been many, many films on Jesus Christ, most of them very successful, and every single one is based on Jesus at the end of life, the last 3-4 years. No one, and I still can't get over this, has never done Jesus as a team. It's quite amazing based on who we're talking about. And therefore, we're all very excited that we are able to make a film that is very, very commercial. When I first came on board this project, I checked. I didn't realize how many films there had been on Jesus over, the last 12, 14 years. And it is easily the most successful film genre. I actually found, I think, 7 films on Jesus. The average budget was just under 6 million, and the average box office was just under 60 million. And this puts aside Christ, famous Mel Gibson film, which cost a lot more and took 750 million at the box office, which by today's standards would double $1 billion. That was about 20 years ago. And by the way, Mr. Gibson is now going to do a remake of that film, going to do another film of Jesus at the end of his life. And Martin Scorsese, just the most famous ever, he has announced a couple of months ago he's making a film about Jesus once again at the end of his life. So, as they keep saying, we're the only people who ever thought of doing a film at 17. Because what's amazing about that? What's different?
Sorry, Jeffrey. I must say, the words are coming in choppy. Did you notice that, Senzo? I hear like every other word. I can't hear properly. Like some words are being omitted. Is it because of the microphone? I
think maybe I don't know if it's network or what. But he was chopping. But I did hear what he was saying. I think we can proceed.
Yeah, Jeffrey. Maybe it's the connection speed. Do you have anything else running on your computer that you could close out?
No, I'm doing this on my cell phone.
Okay. I'm not hearing like every other word.
Okay, myself, I can hear him.
Well, I don't know what to say. You're talking to the least technical person on the planet, so I
can hear him. I can hear
yes,
him.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. All I was saying is that when I first came on board this particular movie, I checked on previous films on the same subject matter, and I found so many that had been highly successful. But the thing that really surprised me, every film on Jesus is about Jesus at the end of his life. There's never been a film of Jesus when he was a teenager. And it makes it very, very different, because here is a young man who has powers that he doesn't understand. And you can imagine how difficult that must have been. So it's a very unusual version, obviously done with the greatest of respect. But the fact is, Jesus is 17 and he's beginning a brand new life, if you know what I mean. So I think it's going to attract enormous attention because it's not been done.
Mm.
And films on faith are easily the most successful.
Yeah. I just want to add. Yeah. Can I add something on what he's saying? Another angle of this movie is more on the fact that it is a movie that is going to be an inspiration to other young kids all over the world, because Jesus is like a actual event that everyone knows about it worldwide. But the missing years are the most crucial one, where people will learn and know, how did he know who he is? What steps did he go through to understand and believe that, okay, now he is the Messiah? So that element is very crucial. And the movie will be partly shot in South Africa, and will be actually starring or featuring a lot of African actors in it, and also serve as an inspiration to the whole world. Thank you.
And I must say that I have been blown away, and I confirm too, being a movie buff and someone who's grown up in the Adventist, in the Christian, in the Adventist church, and in the faith, Judeo-Christian faith, that I have not seen any movies that touch on the life of Jesus before he started his ministry at around age 30. So can you go into the kind of sources without giving away too much? Because I know that it's proprietary and you're working on this behind the scenes and hasn't been released. But can you talk about some of those sources, what underpin and provide the sort of clarity on his life, on Jesus' life? Because naturally, people want to, he was not married, but did he have a girlfriend? He was going through puberty, changes. We know that those are difficult years in any young person's life. Did he hang out with the wrong crowd? Was he influenced, with the peer pressure coming to an age of a man? How did he get on with his father and helping him around the house and the mother around the house and doing the domestic tasks? These are all curious points. And of course, did he join the rebellion group? Because Judea, was under Roman occupation, and they were not loving it. They were hostile. So did he join any radical groups? Because there are a lot of animosity towards the Romans, hatred towards the Romans, and they caught up in this movements. Did he join? Did he get involved? What are some of your sources? Can you speak to some of your sources?
Question, because what Jesus does with the Romans is to give them love, not what everyone else was trying to do. And on top of that, the other problem that Jesus had was that his church, Christ Church, the people who were running it, somewhat against him because they didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand why the public liked him so much. And of course, people liked him, one, because he and two, he was able on one or two occasions to cure people. An old man falls down and is badly injured. Jesus goes over to him and he obviously helps him and saves him. And Jesus doesn't know how he did it because this is the start of his life. Jesus has a girlfriend, a friend who is a good, who admires him. He obviously confides in his parents, because all the other films you see, you hardly see his parents. But obviously his mother knew part of the story. So did Joseph, his father. Now, all of this can be found in history. We're not making anything up, right? And there are many, many sources. Now, how reliable they are, we don't know, obviously, because they were written a long time ago. But the whole thing is done with tremendous respect. Obviously, you've got to do that. But as we've discussed, it's a part of his life that we've not seen before. I can't tell you the historical books because I can't remember them. But the people who wrote this script, obviously, they were aware of this, and that's the very thing that they used. We've made up a little bit of his relationship with a young girl, which is one of friendship, of course, and also one of confusion. But she's very, very bright, and what she does is methodically hold his hand, right? Not literally. And remember, the film finishes when he is 17. So what happened when he was 18 or 19 or 20? That would be the next movie. Okay.
And any other features will distinguish? You're telling me in a sidebar that Christ and people in the movie will be speaking English. Now, we've known of the other major hit film, the Mel Gibson film, Passion of the Christ. People were speaking the Aramaic, and of course, you had the Latin language, used when the Romans were in dialogue. We are making everyone speaking English in this film. Tell me about that. And as far as the authenticity goes, what were your views on use of English as the language of both Romans and the Jews of the day?
The bottom line is that a film in a foreign language does put some people off. They won't go and see it. And especially Americans. Now, just tell you something, because I was flabbergasted when I saw this. Up until recently, America was about 30% of any film. Any film that came out, 30% of the people watched it, whether it was a good film or a bad film. 30% were Americans. It's actually gone down now to 25 because a lot more Chinese people are watching the film. And of course, the lower it is, the better it is for the Americans. But they represent about 30%. After I found out how many films on Jesus had been so successful, I decided to look at the breakdown of the audience. And would you believe every film on Jesus, other than Passion of Christ, every film on Jesus, Americans made up in excess of 90% of the public. 90. With the Passion of Christ, it's 67%, right? And the bottom line is, you've got to cater for an American audience, and the best, if you have it in Aramaic, that will put a lot of people off. And the bottom line is, for someone as bright as the two people I'm speaking to, they know about all these things, but for the majority of the audience, they're not going to go, oh, they're all speaking English, that's ridiculous. And obviously there'll be three sets of accents. There's the Aramaics, there is the black people who are in the Roman army, and then there are the Romans, who obviously have a German-type English accent. But the audience won't be thinking about this. You know, you're someone in the industry who understands stuff like this, but the audience doesn't get this. And you're far better off have people speaking English, but especially as America will make up at least 75% of the audience, right?
Well, thank you for that, Jeffrey. And I could say that from a GTR standpoint, we're really trying to break down some barriers and correct some of the, missteps made in history concerning historical accuracy. And all GTR is trying to do is paint a simulated timeline, simulated set of events, which helps to redefine the world that we understand, that we embrace, that we could look at, we could be proud of finally as we look into 2025. And a lot of the imagery and iconography has depicted, Christ and the disciples as white, as Caucasian. So just tell me about color, because as I said, from a standpoint of GTR, we are. Go ahead, Jeffrey. You have the floor.
A blonde boy from New York City or London town, under no circumstances, everyone will look exactly as they should and come from where they obviously came from. So there will be a mixture of white, black, some Roman soldiers, and some stuff that takes place in the film, and the majority will look like they come from the Middle East. That's where we can't do anything else.
And I respect those views, and it represents a break and a change, because even the Passion of the Christ movie, and I bring it up because it's the movie that all the other Jesus films are compared to, as I think what like the highest grossing film on Jesus. I mean, it's been a mega hit throughout the world. I remember when people were watching it. It came out when I was in the Bahamas as a lawyer, and the whole cinemas were just jam-packed. They had no more tickets. People were in a state of frenzy, and some were claiming to be healed. And it was such a powerful movie and release, and we know the event where it happened. I was working at the time in the Bahamas when that movie was released. But here it is that we have films which are not showing the historical accuracy as we know it. A lot of the points of GTR is to look throughout time from a melanated, and maybe a use of the word melanated rather than black, but a melanated Adam with people described in the Bible as biblical figures coming all the way down, and even those in charge, those who were the Babylonians, who were the Greeks and the Persians, and even the Romans, and those defeated them afterwards, the Germanic tribes, were of a high degree of melanation. And one can look at a wall in Wales, as I alluded before in our prior discourse, that it shows fully melanated figures in that part of the castle, the remnants of the foundation of walls in Cardiff, Wales. So gentlemen, any ideas on the, again, specific, can you cite any of the history or primary sources? Was it like in the case of the Ten Commandments, when it came out in the 1950s, they referenced Josephus and some of the apocryphal writings? Not all the books are canonical. That in today, the King James has 66 books, but I just wanted to expand on the references and sources. Can you comment and speak to any of those sources used specifically for this film?
No.
Can I come in, Jeffrey, before you add on that? I will probably say that the writers of this film, they went as far as going directly in Judah, to like in Jerusalem, around Jerusalem, in the areas where it is like listed in the film, that in the history that this is where the film took place. This is where his life took place. So they went there, did the research, like speaking to on one-on-one with the elders to describe how actually was it from their perspective. You know, not from the biblical perspective, but directly from the original people from Judea. So the history and the background, according to the writers, is actually more deeper than what the public knows about Jesus. Let me stop there, Jeffrey.
Well, I am not an expert on the subject matter, but I have spoken to experts, and they pleasantly surprised at how accurate our story is, based on all the get from various sources that you'll be familiar with. It's 100%. That's how good it is. No one is going to come forward and complain about this. What's thing is how there is so little knowledge of what Jesus was, what his position in life when he was 17. But I keep saying that, but I'm never going to get over that I, of all people, are first ever film on the most popular topic ever. It's crazy we're doing that. It's the very...
And during the life of a young Christ, before he came into his own, before he took up the calling of the ministry, before he was baptized, what was the most sort of controversial thing that you have come across? Now, you happen to come across that he had a friend who happened to be a lady friend, and or even not a quite physical holding of hand, but a psychic or metaphorical sort of holding of the hands. But what is the most striking thing or controversial thing that you came across in doing this, putting this film together about the life of Christ before age 30?
Things.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Jeffrey. The signal is gone again. The signal is gone again.
Okay, maybe while he's talking, let me come in. For my end, what interested me on this subject matter is the fact that normally, let me just make an example for you. In the kingdoms, where there are kingdoms, like in Africa, there are a lot of kingdoms. Sometimes you find that maybe a older king passes away, only to find there's a young boy who's maybe still around 16, 17. He's anointed as a king. The wisdom that was on the forefathers automatically comes to him. It's like it is downloaded, like in a spiritual way. Yeah. So what I can say is on this subject matter, few people know what happened really in Jesus, but the minute you align with his spirit, automatically there is a way where the divine comes and tell you, this is the truth about him. He was a normal boy. He lived like a normal boy, but deep inside himself, he could see there was something that was actually unique about him. Then as he learned, trying to understand who he is, there are a lot of controversies that happened. Myself, the first one is that I saw. It is like the three wise men. The three wise men. Normally in the Bible, it is portrayed as if they were people who were actually knowing who he is, and But in the movie, you find that sometimes one of them or few of them of these three wise men, they struggle to accept who he is, in a way that they even run away from him because they feel that one felt like he's gonna be against him, so he had to run away from him so that he doesn't become the villain in his life. And at some point you find that there is a dark spirit that actually possessed him, but he has to fight it to protect him. But let me stop there. Jeffrey, you can come in.
Well, the thing that I like about it is that what makes him different is that he does everything in his life through kindness. That's very...
You're breaking up again, Jeffrey. I don't know if the phone signal is. You're breaking up again.
Yeah, funny, also.
Yeah, I'm hearing every other word. Like they're missing words from the dialogue.
Hey, let me try again. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes, better.
Yes.
Okay. The thing that I love about the film is that Jesus does everything through kindness. And this is very off-putting to the head Roman, Darius. So Darius is less of a villain than he would normally be. The villain is the chief rabbi, who doesn't like that this young man is getting a lot of attention. And he is more of a villain, would you believe, than Darius. And this is something we've never seen before. But as I say, everything he does is through kindness. And therefore, that's very hard to fight. He's never going to put up his fists. And that makes it very, very, once again, very, very different. Something you've never seen before. Okay. Yeah,
I would like to add something on that, on what Jeffrey is saying. The fact that, normally, I can say in all the kingdoms or in every organization, mostly those who are in power, the minute they learn or it comes to their attention that there's a next king already, they feel threatened. They and then they try to eliminate the because they see him as a threat. Same thing applies throughout this film. There's Herod that is known in the Bible, but also as Jeffrey is mentioning Darius. This guy, he becomes so obsessed with this character, this young guy who is doing things out of generosity, but there's something about him that that makes him to attack. So throughout the movie, there's something that is actually showing how villains, they just appear without him knowing. Okay, let me stop there.
And is
but
there
more.
No, but thank you for that, because the audience, we're just eager to understand that. Is there a young Superman moment? Well, let me explain. In the movie Superman, and you could look at the first part, the remake of it, he's experiencing this great power, and it's a bit showing off. And his father is saying, look, don't show off, because the government's going to come and they're going to take you away, and just don't show off. And we see scenes where he is running and racing a train. I remember that clearly in one of the Superman movies, that he is trying to compete. And there's one where he saves the kids and he lifts up the school bus and saved a bunch of kids. But he did it in a did that just to save the kids because they're going to drown. So there it is that we have these young Superman moments. Is there any such, because he was God and he was man, he was divine and he was a flesh.
Well,
are there any Superman moments in this film?
There are many moments like young Superman. We've actually compared it to young Wonder Woman. Because in the film Young Wonder Woman, she has powers she doesn't understand. Now, obviously, we have to do it with the greatest of respect. But yes, just like Wonder Woman, or in your case, Superman, there are moments, many moments, that absolutely shock and surprise him. But say the most important thing is that he does everything through love and kindness, which puts the Romans off. How do you attack someone who, when you go over and criticize him, is nice to you?
And can you describe at least, one or two of the Superman moments? Because this is really what's going to carry the film and help the audience, because we all want to understand and embrace the film. Even before it comes out, we want to really, truly, experience it, the simmer in the appetizer. Can you drop one or two Superman moments and just take a little time to flesh it out for the audience?
There are moments when, for example, an elderly man falls over and he has obviously a lot of problems, and Jesus goes over to him and strokes him and talks to him, and all of a sudden the guy is cured. Everyone starts talking about it. The Romans get upset about it. They don't know what to do. They've never come across this before. Obviously, they've never come across it before. Never would again. No one has. This is unique situation, and there are examples like that. And he gets a young crowd, the young lady that he sees a lot, they have the other friends, and they now become followers. They can't believe what is happening. But as I said, the most important thing, everything is done with kindness. You shout at me and I stroke you. That's the
Now we know that Jesus had an inner circle. Peter, James, John. We know of his inner circle and those close to him. Now, chances are, did he even interact with any of these fellas during his adolescent age? Is it possible that he even had some interaction with these? Because that was part of his inner circle. He had 12 disciples that he favored, Peter, James, and John. What are your thoughts on the trio, on those that were closest to Christ?
It's very early days for the inner circle, obviously, because he's 17. But you can see, because you're knowledgeable, and most people are, you will realize, I know what's going to happen in a few years' time because of his relationship with that one or that one. But this is taking before that. That's what I keep saying. You've never seen that before. You've never, ever seen it.
Yeah, maybe without divulging more, there are some times where also his cousin John, he interacted with John, and John has already started his call. And then Jesus does appear and then be part of like a crowd that is actually following and looking at what John does. And then there are a lot of other interactions between him and John that I can say, but more information will be on the film, because if we divide, more people won't come in and watch the movie.
Yeah, I'm really curious about those, call it rebel groups. And I wouldn't even say rebel groups, but those that were rising up, the zealots, those are rising up against the Romans because they were oppressed people, and they were, they were taken over. They were captives of the land, and that's why they resented. And we know they resented the Romans, wishing Christ to liberate them. That was the theme in all his ministries. And when you're talking about a kingdom, but we are catching hell now. We are feeling the pains of this enslavement now. We want to be free. And he spoke about the kingdom to come. And we noticed that in his messages, which is a constant theme of the kingdom, not the present kingdom. So these rebel sort of groups, these antagonistic, now I know in the movies before, if you look at Ben-Hur, again, I'm just drawing parallels. We spoke about the Passion of Christ, but look at the major Bible movies starring Charlton Heston. We have the Ten Commandments, which came out again in the 1950s. And around the same time, you have Ben-Hur, and about the life of a prince of Hur. And this centered around Christ, because we saw towards the end that his family, they were healed because they were lepers. So they were touched. It was a story about Christ, but it wasn't focused fully on Christ. Christ interacted with him as Ben-Hur went and to the galleys. And as people remember this movie, it's a famous movie. It's been around for all decades. He went to the galleys and he was sentenced. betrayed by his friend over the sake that he would not reveal the names of these, call it, rebels and the zealots. So Christ was interacting with Ben-Hur in that movie. He gave him water to drink. He was ministering, and Ben heard him, and even his girlfriend and Ben-Hur's friend heard Christ and was trying to woo him and say, look, listen to the man, look at. And when he died, it culminated with that point where Ben-Hur had some decisions to make, whether he would stick with Rome, seek revenge, and all of that playing out with his family suffering and being lepers, mom and sister. The zealots, there must have been riotous sort of groups, rebel groups. Would you see that Jesus then would have been at least influenced or caught up with at least some of that movement? Because he felt he was there for his people, he was in the midst of it all, and as a young man, would it be possible? Would it be possible for him to conceive that he would have some interaction with some rebel groups growing up? What's your takeaway on that? And I know you mentioned a message about peace and love and kindness, but yes, a person can be all of the above, but you still are deeply impassioned for your people that's suffering deeply at this moment, which Christ really came to help and save. He was he was a Jew. He was from that region. He was a person of the soil and of the people. How could he not feel the pains of the people, even if it's in the more extreme forces and factions away from the Sadducees and the Pharisees and those which were in the clerics? I'm talking about then the rebel groups. What of those groups and interactions? What are your thoughts about your sources and his involvement in some of that? The militia, and I hate to assign labels, the militia of the times.
Yes, I have to remind you again, this is Jesus at 17. Everything you've referred to, quite correctly, is Jesus at the age of 30, towards the end of his life. This is Jesus as a teenager. It's entirely different. This is Jesus who believes that everything should be done through kindness. And when he's attacked by the Romans, and he's actually attacked a lot more by the head of the Jewish religion, who's very old-fashioned, what a surprise that is, and that's his biggest problem. And how does he tackle that problem? By being kind and being nice. And that's what impresses the young people who surround him. But he's also confused because he's 17. When you're 17, obviously that's a difficult time. So who does he confide with? His parents, Joseph and Mary. And that's something you've never seen before. So this is a different edge. Everything you said, and some of those films have been very, very successful, but ours is different. Ours is a teenage Jesus. And, you know, that's the big sell. If you, in terms of, from a commercial point of view, it's never been done. But
maybe just to add on what Jeffrey is saying, there is a time where in the script, there's a time where Darius, who's like a Roman, he's attacking him. He's attacking Jesus because of his actions and all his, some of the Superman action that he does, he does for the community. The people who saves him to run away from the area and maybe go to this how he runs to Egypt. It is his parents. They actually use the gifts that he got from the three wise men the day he was born as maybe a monetary object that he can use to get into Egypt. So yeah, I'm just adding on what Jeff was saying, that he relied mostly on his parents because at that moment he was still young. So it is them who were advising him to evacuate until everything is back and settled.
Now I'm going to throw you a curveball. Now, isn't it possible to balance the scales because there were warring factions, and I can sense it that the whole city was on the verge of an explosive event because of what was done to them. They're exploited people in that time. Isn't it possible that he could have gone to jail, to prison? I mean, not harm and damage in any way, but couldn't he have gone to prison?
100%. But you understandably are still referring to Jesus when he was 30. This is 15 years before. It was different. It was going to build up to what you are saying, right? It is accurate. Historically, it is very accurate. But you're understandably keep referring to Jesus at 30 and all the problems that were going on at that time.
Well, I'm specifically looking at Jesus in his 20s, because I know you're focusing on 17, but there's also Jesus in his 20s.
Focusing, he is 17.
Okay. Let me add something here. I think on the script there is a time where he goes to jail at the age of 17. He goes to jail because he was helping John. John the Baptist. The Baptist was already working as a Baptist, as someone who's like a prophet and everything. And then when Jesus tried to assist there, he was arrested. This is when his parents give him the gifts that he received to run away, because Darius was also after him. There's a time I remember on the script that he's arrested at that age because of helping his cousin. Thank you.
Yeah, because of the tumultuous times, we know that he was a virtuous person. We know he had his Superman moments, and that would be good to showcase and show the audience about, how he has helped people, and it was a flash of his divinity because he was divine and he was human. But the jail and going into jail where he can reflect, because a person like, look at the life of Malcolm X. His name is Little. And he went into to Malcolm Little. He went into jail, and he was reformed. He spent a lot of time, bettering himself, educating himself, and spent time in these somber moments of reflection to further enhance. Coming out after that, he had a powerful ministry. So I could see it possible because these are times that were dangerous times. To be in Judea, to be a Jew, it was just there are constant factions, which led to people being crucified. Now we know that obviously what happened to him would not have led to him being killed or damaged or harmed, because he had a thriving ministry. But he also had a period where he spent in the wilderness in order to cleanse his soul and be free. And he was tempted. He was tempted during those time in the wilderness before, in his ministry. And he started his ministry, got baptized, and we know that the rest they talk about. But that jailing would put him to be make him the better man. For him, he would go to jail for the sake of his cousin, and John the Baptist, go to jail because of not ratting on another person, in terms of something done maybe by the rebels, by the zealots, which were fighting the Romans, and spending that time in prison, because then there's a noticeable gap, and we don't go into the life of Christ, but that imprisonment, I think, would serve the soul, because in jail a lot of people, even with the ministry, what he needed to feed his soul, to commune with his Father, he could do it in nature. He would do it in his relationships. He did that a lot just in observing mankind. But yeah, it just begs the question. And it's good to know there is that bit in the film that looked at the prison system. But I really like the concept of the Christ. I like the fact that it will be universally accepted, and that most people even today speak English and understand English. So it'll be a film that would be welcoming to those who can understand and speak in the English tongue. Also, the color scheme and the skin color of the actors, a lot of them would be melanated, which is warm, and it gels in the theme what we're talking about in GTR, because it's looking at history and trying to deconstruct history and analyze it in a way that yes, it's historically accurate and we can draw something from it. Are there any final sort of takeaway points that you wanted to just talk about the film and how you see it distinguished from other films and genre? Well, for other films in this area.
Have demonstrated absolutely, and thank you very much, of why this film is different. You have obviously a first-class knowledge of Jesus and everything that took place, except you're not aware of Jesus at 17. Everything you've quoted takes place a number of years later. Obviously, you've quoted it very correctly, but no one is aware of Jesus at 17, i.e. when things started to happen. Imagine being a teenager and not knowing it, and suddenly this is happening to you. It must be extraordinary. And that is what the film is about. And the Romans were not so bad at that time. I mean, yes, you were conquered, but you still lived on a farm and had very little problems with the Romans. You had a bigger problem with the head of the Jewish, what would be called the chief rabbi. They were very old-fashioned people, surprise, surprise, right? And that's what he's up against. And the most wonderful thing about it, he tackles everything through being kind and being nice. That's what he is. And at the same time, he's madly confused. How on earth did I do that? So he confides in his parents, and nearly all the films on Jesus, you hardly see any references to Joseph or Mary. In this film you will. And obviously he confides in his young friends, and it's young friends who are madly impressed. What is going on? What's happening? And it makes the film different from any other Jesus film you've seen. And as I said before, Jesus films, in terms of the film industry, are easily the most successful. And we're doing that at 17. I reckon the case. Oh, by the way, the one other thing. Because this Jesus, and I've described who he is, what he thinks. Other religions who regard Jesus as an important person, but not the Son of God, but Jesus is never, will attract them well. And it will attract young people, whether they believe in religion or not. This young hero, that's what kids want to see. It will attract a very different audience, as well as the ones who are obviously, into the Christian religion. It's so different. And as I said, I would have thought I'd be the last person to come to this, but there you are.
And thank you, Jeffrey. And Senzo, any closing thoughts on just the film and how it distinguished itself from all the other films, including right up there, The Passion of the Christ?
Okay, from my end, I will probably say the character of Jesus will teach everyone who's not having a direction in life or not knowing how he can discover who he is. After watching that movie at that age of 17, all the young people will be motivated, will actually be in a position to understand they can do it too. It is a film that is going to be leaving that legacy that I can, and then at the end, the film will end. The more focus is mostly at the time where he's in at the wilderness. There's more CGI and VFX around the place. Then as soon as he discovers who he is, the movie will end. But at the end, it's going to be a movie that is going to be doing a lot of tourism for the locations where it will be shot. And most importantly, whoever will be investing in it won't actually regret it, because we are certain it's going to have a lot of revenues for everyone to benefit. Thank you.
And I forgot to mention this, but the locations. Can you just describe for me the locations? I'm sorry I didn't touch on this before, but locations and where the shooting will take place.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is to send you pictures of the location in terms of where you have to show history. Obviously, there are other moments, many moments, where you're in someone's house. So, it's a house from a long time ago, but that's it. But we found some locations which I'll send, I'll send them to you, or Senzo can send them, but you'll have them later today or tomorrow, and you'll understand why we're so excited about these locations. They really are the best.
Naturally, they can be integrated when this feature is being edited. They can add the photos. So send as many as you can, and even the backdrop. If you have assembled a sort of a logo or poster for the film, I know it's early stages. That would be great to caption the theme, because what we need to get across is the alpha omega, and that, you know, to come across to people that this is the film that we're discussing, we're talking about, and for that to be center.
We have a new film deck, so I'll discuss it with my colleague, and then we'll send it to you, the latest one. Okay,
so as many pictures as you can gather. Now, the other question to mention: are you going to mention Jesus by name or Yeshua? Because I know letter J was not sort of around. People say, well, you not Jesus, but Yeshua. How are you going to refer to him throughout the film?
Well, originally the script has Yeshua. And I said, look, I know that's correct, but the fact is our audience wants him to be called Jesus. And I think that's more important than being 100% correct from an historical point of view. Now, we will get advice from other people who are in the industry. You know, we'll get advice from certain Christian churches, but I personally, if you're asking my opinion, I want to stick to Jesus.
Okay, there you have it. Well, a film that's coming up about the 17-year-old Jesus. We know Jesus, he entered the temple and he was instructing people at 12. And we saw that mentioned in the Bible. Then we fast forward to 30, and his life started right after being tempted and, of course, being baptized, and it catapulted him into his 3-year ministry before his death at 33 years old. But this is Jesus, this is Yeshua, or aptly put, Jesus at the age of 17. Thank you again to the guests, Jeffrey Taylor, and of course, Senzo Zindela. Glad and happy that you're joining us in this program, GTR. And we would like to welcome you again as this film develops. The film is Alpha and Omega. Alpha and Omega, the film about the life of Christ at the age of 17, and it is certainly a must watch film, and you just save it for your say put a budget out for acquiring the film and going seeing it. Will it be released in other sort of electronic format, or is it going to go straight to theaters? How is it going to be released? Any thoughts on? It'll be released to say a video version before or right about the same time as a main screening. How will it be released and distributed? Any words on that?
Yes, the film will be released in cinemas. The industry has suddenly woken up to the fact that if you make a film, it must be in cinemas exclusively first, not as it used to be, say, for 4 or 5 months. But everyone, regardless of their age, they're 17 or 70, thinks a film in cinema is better than a film on television. Quite rightly. So and streaming has almost brought the industry down. But the big studios have woken up to that fact, and now even Apple all their films have to go to the cinema first, as I say, only for a few weeks, and then it goes out on television. That's unbelievably important for the industry of our film. It's so important because that's how everyone thinks. So yes, we will be first exclusively in the cinemas, TV, the other way, want to watch. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Okay, I want to add something there.
Go ahead.
On top of that, we are planning to mobilize the market by engaging a lot of mostly churches from all over the world, and having the method to pre-buy the ticket through the mobilization of churches. So already some of our partners are engaging a lot of churches from Chicago down to Brazil and also in Africa. So it will be pre-sold, and also the churches be invited to actually pre-buy it, as in a form of planning back to the community, but so that maybe the communities, the theaters or cinemas, are somehow full. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zindela. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, and that's a wrap. So thank you. That's the film Alpha Omega, the life of Christ, life of Jesus at age 17. Not been done before, and live and in living color. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a good evening. That's all the best from GTR Publications. Will be more content and more programs in line with the GTR theme. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
In a world of fractured stories, timelines buried, and truths erased, one project dares to ask the question, what if everything you thought you knew about history was wrong? This is GTR, Genesis, Timeline and Roots. A 5,025-year simulated walkthrough tracing a melanated Adam back to 4000 BC. Over the last decade, new revelations confirm a black origin for humanity, from European vaults to tribal memory, Babylon to Britain. This is not just history, this is a challenge, a simulation, a movement. Meet the man behind GTR, Dr. Wilton MacDonald II, Caymanian, British, Jamaican, haplogroup E and stateless for 26 years. Now a global explorer, 119 countries and counting. A hedge fund lawyer, a UK chartered accountant, a seeker of the lost archives of our people. But the question remains, if all black people came out of Africa, does that make us only African? Or are we also European, Scottish, Native American, Jacobite Hebrew, Asian? GTR exists to answer that question. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. A splinter in your mind. That splinter has brought you here, to GTR. Whites can't trace their roots before the 1800s. Where's ours? Where are the tribes? The languages, the kings, the queens, the true Hebrews? Where did the giants go? Where are the Neanderthals? Angels, aliens? Why do we speak in so many tongues? Was Babel just a myth? A memory? History has holes. Hollywood has lied. The system was never made for us to remember. Only 5 to 8% of people today are white. And what about the 1800s stories and postcards of the cabbage babies? But nearly all history books center their story. That doesn't add up. Atlantis, lost cities, vanished civilizations, or were they erased? Try GTR. Take the red pill and awaken to the truth of your ancestors. Or take the blue pill and keep dreaming a fantasy. GTR. A simulated walkthrough of Black Hebrew history and eschatology. This is the beginning of remembering.